36 years, Asian Community Mental Health Services have been providing culturally and linguistically responsive services to low-income Asian immigrants in the East Bay, right here in the heart of Oakland's Chinatown. Now with API Connections project funded by Mental Health Services Act, we're able to expand our prevention and community outreach, bringing wellness to many more diverse and yet underserved API individuals of all ages, regardless of their income, health insurance, or diagnosis. Our bilingual project staff partners with 9 community-based organizations to provide free screening and consultation to individuals and families at various community locations. They conduct training workshops on mental health and wellness topics and participate in key community events such as health fairs and cultural festivals. Let's hear from our CBO partners as they share how this project has benefited their respective communities.
Hello, I am so pleased to be part of the API Connection. We are a community-based organization called the Vietnamese American Community Center of the East Bay. We've been around for about 15 years, serving low-income, primarily refugees and immigrants in the Vietnamese community. It's been a long process in trying to provide services, especially during very, very challenging economic times. Mental health is certainly one of those issues as people try to navigate through these economic challenges. The support system the seniors had was starting to erode as a result of the economic conditions. Their support system, their children, people that provided primary services to them and support financially to them, these people were losing their jobs, and as a consequence that was created a tremendous amount of stress. Most of the people that we serve in our particular case is seniors. These are people that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They have had to navigate American society. They had to leave their beloved country. And behind, behind every story and every, senior that we deal with, there's this tremendous story of hardship and of escape, of war-torn situations, where they had to sort of navigate for their actual basic survival. And those people came here to our shores, not always feeling particularly welcome, quite frankly. And then try to figure out how to navigate, through the system. It's interesting that when we talk about mental health, in particular with regard to Asians, it's not something that they recognize as an affliction. They just think that that's just what life has dealt them, and that they just need to just sort of bear down and just sort of kind of navigate through the hardship. When in fact, there are lots of ways to provide them support. Both during critical times, during stressful times, and that's the kind of thing that we try to provide here at the center, along with our colleagues. We have been very fortunate to also work with the Asian Community Mental Health Service people. They have provided us tremendous technical support with regard to actual case management. The idea of educating our community about mental health, what that is, to give it a name even, that depression is not normal, that this is something that they can get assistance with, to have somebody to talk to. We try to provide, in addition to actual case management where people want to maybe talk through their problems, we also try to provide them companionship, friendships, life enrichment programs, gardening, cooking, things that sort of engage them so that they're not so focused on their own personal problems, or at least for a time be able to put their financial burden aside momentarily so that they can enjoy their, their comrades and their friendships and their social partners that here at the center.
I work for the East Bay Asian Youth Center, also known as EBASI. And the East Bay Asian Youth Center was founded 35 years ago by a group of college kids from Berkeley. And they created this organization to kind of give the Asian population a place to come and to have kind of resources. Currently, some of the major needs that I've seen through working with eBasie, and I've been working for them for 10 years now at Garfield, at this exciting site. And I've seen a lot of newly immigrants, the majority Asian. We do have some Latinos. We also have like some people from Nepal that we've seen that a lot of people have been immigrating here, and they face a lot of language barriers. They've gone through a lot of things back home, and that's what's forced them to come to this country. And it's kind of hard to culturally, in a competent way, discuss any of their needs that they have, whether it's in homework, whether it's in reading, whether it's just in life in general. So I think that's been like our major need in this school. Working in collaboration with API has been an immense, tremendous help. We've seen a lot of our students literally transformed, and we've seen these services has really impacted them positively. I've seen students that really just want somebody to talk to, somebody to be there to support them, and API has done that. It has given us opportunity to these students. One thing that I would like to see in the future is just to have our staff, because we don't have the skills and kind of the capacity to train our staff to do what API does, and it would be something that would benefit our program, because we do see a lot of students that really need that mental health, wellness resources, and we only provide the reading intervention, the homework assistance, and our staff will be willing to be trained in these skills, and that's something that I feel API could grow in our program and just give more to our program through those services.
Having been a teacher for 13 years, I found out that many students who have behavioral problems have gone through some difficult times at home. It is hard for us to break through those deep, dark barriers inside them. This year, I have a very defiant student. She always refuses to follow my directions. She acts up in class to attract attention. She's also very mean to her classmates and never admits that she has done anything wrong to her classmates. But after a few months of counseling from Asian Community Mental Health Service, I can see some improvement from her. More often, she's willing to follow my directions. She will apologize to her classmate when she did something wrong. And I think this program is working. And I hope that this service will expand to more and more those deeply needed students.
I'm Kimberly Chang. I'm a family physician and the site director of the Frank Kiang Medical Center here, a new site of Asian Health Services, a community health center started in 1974, and currently the corporate offices are in Oakland, Chinatown. We have a lot of patients who come from conflict zones throughout the whole of Asia. I have patients, Chinese patients, who were involved in the Cultural Revolution, who talk about atrocities they witnessed when they were much younger. They're seniors now. I have patients from the Vietnam War, of course. I have patients from Cambodia who fled and survived the genocide, but had witnessed very many murders and malnourishment and torture and labor camps, and had been victims of that. And have lost many family and friends and have a lot of trauma from that, associated with that. I have patients from Laos who are refugees, ethnic groups from Laos who lived through the secret bombings of Laos and Cambodia during the Vietnam War. I have new patients right now arriving from Burma, where they have been in limbo in the refugee camps in Thailand for a number of years. The one I just saw yesterday had been in refugee camp for 12 years. So there's a lot of trauma that needs to be addressed in our patients, and mental health issues severely impact the ability to function and participate in civic society, and ability to manage your health care, finances, a new country. API Connections has participated here at the Frank Kiang Medical Center every other Friday, outreaching to our Cambodian patients. What has been helpful is that they have a language and culturally concordant social worker and outreach worker who can speak to the patients in their own language and can relate to the patient's immigration experience, perhaps, or stories of trauma and family, because they understand the historical origins of our patients. They've been offering short-term counseling, 1 to 6 visits. They've been offering concrete services help, housing, food stamps, insurance, Medicare and Medi-Cal, counseling, in-home support services needs. I think it's been helpful to also get the patients coming together as a group to build up a support network. Think about it, when we all have friends and family that we can talk to, and we can go out into the community, go shopping, you know, go out to a restaurant, and we can speak the language. It's not a barrier. But for our patients, they become very isolated into the places where they feel comfortable because they don't speak the language. And the support network becomes much more contracted. So I think by having the group setting and having the patients be able to share their concerns and problems, 1, it builds that support network, and 2, I think it could help us to figure out what are some of the more pressing concerns in their community that we then could take a hold of and advocate for policy change or more resources or more services in those arenas of problems that they're encountering.
សមាគមអភិវឌ្ឍសហគមន៍ខ្មែរដែលមានទីកន្លែងនៅទីក្រុងអូកឡែនបានបង្កើតឡើងនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ 1997 ដោយក្រុមប្រជាជនខ្មែរមួយក្រុមដែលគាត់គិតអំពីការជួយនៅក្នុងការបម្រើប្រជាជនខ្មែរដែលភៀសខ្លួនមកពីប្រទេសខ្មែរនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ 1980 កាលនោះក្រុមរបស់គាត់នឹងក្នុងមួយថ្ងៃគឺបានមូអេករ៉ូចំនួន 5000 លក់នៅតាមផ្លូវនៅតាមទីកន្លែងធ្វើការដើម្បីយកប្រាក់នោះមកបង្កើតជាសមាគម
The API Connections project has really supported CCDI tremendously, especially in capacity building. The assistant project director from API Connections has really made it possible for us to form the Cambodian youth group that we have at CCDI right now, which is called Young Cambodian Community Leader. And they have been making a tremendous difference in the community, although we still need a lot more resources in our community. But so far what they have been doing is reaching out to the community and organizing the community, and they've been showcasing their talents at cultural events to reach out to the public and to reunite this very fractured community. And I think that the API Connections project has really not only unite our community, it has really helped CCDI build more structure in terms of our programs, as well as outreaching to different colleges, to different parts of the Cambodian community, and bring them to CCDI, and we all work together and since the API Connections project started.
My name is Isabel Kang, and I work with the Korean Community Center of the East Bay. We can call it KCCEB. KCCEB has been founded in 1977 and is over 34 years old. And this community organization has been created to serve the needs of the Korean community in the Bay Area. We have currently the social services program, the immigration and citizenship services, and the domestic violence services. That is my program called Shimta. Shimta is the only Korean culture and language specific program to address domestic violence in our community in the whole Northern California. The Bay Area has about 100,000 Koreans living spread throughout the region, all the way from Napa to Monterey. But 75% of our community is still not very proficient in English speaking. So that brings to the question of the needs of our community and the unmet needs. Our people has had a collective history of war, famine, that didn't happen that long ago. About 55 years ago is when we have declared ceasefire, but it's relatively still very short, the history of immigration and the war-torn legacy and the traumas that our people have experienced. We come to this country on our own volition. We are not refugees, but still the adaptation and trying to live and adjust to the life in the U.S. has been quite difficult. And this is why our organization is very vital in providing services to access those services through language and culture. The API connections have responded to some of the needs that we have identified as a community. Mental health is not something that was very familiar to our people for a long time. It's still not very well known and practiced, but there is a huge demand and need that is ever increasing, especially the last 2-3 years that we have experienced the downturn in the economy. We have tried to provide as much as we can, but we need help from professionals that are trained and understand this issue. And it's amazing that the level commitment the collaborative has, the API connections have responded, and they have hired somebody who has extensive knowledge and experience in provision of services to domestic violence survivors and in the language and culture of our community. So having said that, I think we are very pleased. We can always improve. We can work collaboratively to extend even more the services, but we are very pleased with the outcome, and we thank this the project API Connections for the commitment to serve our community.
Filipino Advocates for Justice was founded in 1973 in response to the influx of Filipino immigrants who were facing discrimination at that time. Currently, we provide youth services, services for newcomers, and services for low-wage workers. Many immigrant families, especially Filipino families, fed by a growing anti-immigrant political climate, the young people feel the need to shed their immigrant characteristics and integrate into popular culture. There are so few resources, culturally sensitive resources in South Alameda County that are able to support and help guide this population during this tumultuous period. We're also experiencing cutbacks with school programs and in community-based programs elsewhere. And our young people are left with so few alternatives to risky behaviors such as drugs and alcohol and violence, and the services that are left are often not culturally appropriate. The Community Wellness Coordinator with API Connections makes regular visits to our programs, both our in-school program and our after-school programs, and they build relationships and trust with the young people that we work with.
The Lao Indian Culture Association is based in East Oakland, and it was established in 1982. The Cultural Center was built because of the Indian community needs to have a community center they can call a home. Currently, we have programs for the elderly. We also have an Indian language class for our youth and adults and for the Indian community in general, and that's to promote our cultural language. We also have annual scholarship events where we provide scholarships to our high school seniors to help them pursue higher education. We also have annual graduations parties to acknowledge our youth that's graduating from high school and college. And we have our cultural activities such as our annual King Pond Festival that's held annually to honor our forefather. And we also have a number of other cultural activities. Currently, we are with the API Connection and also having our liaison, Wang Se Pan, to work with our seniors with dealing with mental health services, which is considered taboo in our community. So it's great to have someone that is bilingual and bicultural in the Mian language to work with our community. So that's a huge benefit for our community, and we really appreciate that service that the API Connection has provided for us. And currently, the Lao Indian Culture Association, what we're planning to do is the expansion of our community center, because right now what we have is just a quarter of our community center built, and we're hoping to expand that so that way we have a community hall, a second level that will have a mini museum and library for us to store our cultural artifacts and books to educate our youth in the community as well.
By a group of UC Berkeley students who saw the need for academic support, especially in Oakland Chinatown and Lincoln Elementary. The school now has become a Blue Ribbon school. They just won the Blue Ribbon for 2010. They're high achieving students. The after school program consists of approximately 120 students, and we provide academic enrichment workshops and tutorial. And we also have one of the largest volunteer programs. So at each day we have approximately 30 UC Berkeley students who come out and mentor the younger students with their homework and all other aspects of their life. And we also partner with different organizations. One of our partnerships is with APAL. Another one of our partnerships is with Connie Lei from ACMHS. And that actually has been a great support for our program, especially this year. One of the needs for our organizations this year, from what I've seen, is that students, because they're pushed to achieve academically, a lot of the students are under stress and they act out in different ways. And so Connie has been very supportive and has provided techniques and advice and tips to my staff members, and also has been very integral in working with the students to support them so that they find ways to act out the stress or to be able to relieve their stress so that they are able to function as students and to be happy.
Hi, my name is Vei, and I'm an APAL site coordinator with the Chinese-Filipino-Vietnamese site. So APAL has been around for 13 years, and what we do is youth organizing and leadership development. So we really kind of serve the holistic needs of young folks and really develop their leadership skills so they can be thriving young students that can survive in the real world and also be able to kind of empower themselves and the people around them. So we do grassroots campaigns and also leadership development where young folks, they learn the leadership skills and also like facilitate and teach weekly meetings to their peers of 90 plus at times, ranging from 30 to 90 young folks. With API Connections, it's been a dream. It's been a savior in many ways. It kind of helps us kind of really reach our young folks and kind of help serve their other needs, the mental health needs in particular. Growing up in Oakland, like a lot of our young folks come from immigrant refugee families and parents, and so they carry with them a lot of experience of being from war-torn countries, having to escape and having a lot of trauma. And in that sense, like the young folks experience that through their parents, and so they feel it in some way, shape, or form, and they grow up in that environment. And so themselves have some of these mental health illnesses as well. And so a lot of people, they don't know it, they don't talk about it. There's also just a huge stigma in the API community. And so in that sense, having API connections has been great and wonderful, because it's a way to really for us to relate with the young folks and really have someone who's an expert around mental health, but then also relate with the young folks and really start to break those stereotypes and the stigma around it, and showing that it's really much a normal thing that everyday people experience. Then it's not something like where you're crazy and if you have it, it's the end of the world, but more of like, it does happen in our communities, and instead of avoiding it and running away from it, we can work together to address it and help us be a stronger community. And so in that sense, Sharon and Muang have done us a huge service in really serving that aspect and providing that for APAL. So thank you, API Connections. Y'all been amazing.